Yep. All right. So this is our episode 9 of our unfiltered podcast, race fans only. We got Chris while he's on break, myself and Blake. Blake's got himself a brand new hat. Looks good. Chris is truly trying to bring back the Dale Jarrett, vibe here. Drive the truck. But
And Dale Jarrett, Carl Edwards,
yep,
David Reagan. Yeah, either way.
get them all. Um, but while we've got you on your break, I definitely want to cover the big one for you, I think, is all right. So Corey's announced his plans. We've had a lot of different little announcements throughout the last week, but one we were all talking about the last couple of weeks is what we think is going to happen with Corey, as the dominoes fall. And so he's announced that he'll be an announcer for pre and post race on the 5 races with Amazon Prime with Danielle Trotta. So that's good. He decided to step away from full-time driving, and instead he's gonna work on his, I guess, kind of like the way he explained it in his podcast, his Stack and Pennies brand, kind of like the Project 91 under Trackhouse. He's gonna run some part-time select races with Rick Ware, the first one being the Daytona 500, and he got some partners for that. Um, and there will be more races throughout the year, but he basically um, reviewed his career in his mind over the off season and towards part of last year. And he said that there were some, life events that impacted this, but ultimately he looked at it kind of like how Parker Kligerman was. Like, I've been racing for so long since I was a kid with this goal in mind. And, while there are many people that would kill to have my career to be able to race as long as I have, I'm not any closer to my goal. So, and I've got these other opportunities coming available, so I'm going to take them. So I think we're, you know, the other day when Blake and I were talking, preparing for this, I kind of had thought the window had kind of set for Corey. He's, 37, 38. He's heading towards the back end anyway. Um, I don't know if you got a chance, Chris, to see his comments with Bob Pockris and the preseason interview about like his deal and why he did what he did. Some people are pointing out it sounds kind of like he's talking down about the Xfinity and the truck series. People kind of take that however they want, but I guess I'm just curious with all that said, that now that we know what's going on with him, what do you think?
I don't think it's the fact that he was ultimately talking down about the lower series. Um, I think the issue is he because if you look at the sponsorship that he's going to have for what seems to be the limited schedule he's going to run this year, it's none of the partners that have been with him.
Right.
There's
Yeah, he's got two
there
new partners. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no more Gainbridge. Well, we knew Gainbridge wasn't coming back, but there's no more Celsius, no more Built Bar, no more everybody. Everything is gone, and
Yeah,
I
Sugar
think
and all those. Yeah.
I think I think to an extent he's correct. Those people, the only way they were going to stay with him is if he was running a full time Cup ride. They had no want or need to go, and there was going to be no return on their investment.
Yep. Now, did you get a chance to listen to Stack and Pennies at all that he put out this week?
No, not yet.
So the one thing, what about you, Blake?
No,
So the one
I
tidbit
haven't
that
listened in a year or so.
so the one tidbit he did put out, I listened to it last night, because I took a nap earlier in the day, so I couldn't sleep. So I listened to it, and the one tidbit he did put out where he entertained going down to like a lower level ride, but he was only going to do it for a top ride. He was going to go into Christian Eckes' truck, a 15. But the crew chief for that ride was being courted very heavily to go somewhere else. And he's like, well, if I'm not going to get the top talent with the team, then I don't really want to go down there and start over. I've been doing that the whole time. So I will say, at least it sounds like he was entertaining that as an option. I know I've thought for a while he needed to kind of do that John Hunter Nemechek type, like take a step back, put yourself in a better position, build your name back up in people's eyes, and then see if that opens any more doors for you.
and
But
then, and then come back to a lower tier team.
yeah, potentially,
He did.
potentially. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek, like it looked like it was going to be the right move, and it still may because he's very young. But I mean, that's another discussion topic. Okay, so in that same vein, well, so first off, anything else you want to say about Corey's decision to not be full time? Like, I think him being just freshly out of the car, again, it's going to be another good point of data to have for the broadcast pre and post race of special of people that have driven the next gen. You know, Dale Jr. is going to be on those Amazon things, but he's never driven the next gen competition. He's only done the Xfinity cars once off a year, and he did the test at Bowman Gray, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I think this gives them some additional data points, just like Fox has Harvick.
I
So
I'm kind of confused why they just put him on pre-race and post-race. Why they don't have somebody that fresh out of the seat and actually have them in as part of the actual broadcast instead of pre and post. That part's a little confusing.
yeah, well, I think I agree with you. Other than I think it probably has a lot to do with the name that they've got in the main run of those 10 races. The Amazon TNT span is Dale Jr. So we've seen the two driver combination work or not work very well, depending on how you take it with Harvick Boyer, Gordon Boyer, Dale and Jeff. Sometimes it's better just have one driver voice and then one crew chief voice.
I just think Amazon really screwed up because you have two of the most liked personalities in the sport
Yeah,
at your fingertips, and why you wouldn't at least try and put them together is kind of beyond me. I mean, it's only 5 races. What was it going to hurt?
I agree. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll change that. But at least the way he explained it is he and
It was
Danielle
just
will be doing
pre
pre
and
and
post
post race.
race.
So,
Yeah,
which I mean, I'm just glad they're going to have a pre and post race. We've seen so for so long, it's basically like 25 minutes of lead up and then sometimes no post race at all.
yeah.
So,
You usually have to catch streaming to catch the post race shit, and I've never understood that.
yeah.
I could honestly see getting rid of a lot of the post race stuff. Do the invocation. Do the national anthem during the pace laps. Run through a few little bullet points uh, before the race starts, and then tear the entire race down. And anything that was affected by the stuff you brought up at the beginning of the race, break it down at the end.
Yep. Yeah, I think if you have to pick which side to put content on, pre-race or post-race, I think post-race is the better end because you've just seen all this drama and the different things and play out. And so, if you don't do post race, you're giving up all those headlines for the rest of the week to all the other news media partners.
Yeah, exactly.
And so by the time you get to pre-race, nobody tunes in to watch it because they've already heard it all. What are you going to tell me that's new that
Yep.
I haven't already heard? Where if you give it to me post-race, you're the first one, you're right there in those encounter moments. Kind of like how the Teardown podcast gets that viewership because they're right there, hot off the moment. Maybe their takes are wrong, maybe their takes are right, but at least they're in the moment. Here's what we think initial viewing, and that might change over the course of 2, 3 days getting to reflect on it. But they get a lot of
I've always been a big believer in, if somebody talk a little bit, or at least point out the fact of pre-race penalties as far as not passing inspection, how many times, what the penalty for that is, whether they lose pit selection, uh, what you can touch on those during the pre-race or during the warm-up laps, and then everything else should be covered post-race. You're going to get the reactions of the drivers when they're in the heat of the moment. You're going to get the comments that you want from the drivers that way. You're going to get, I mean, yeah, to just kind of piggyback what you talked about. I mean, why not deliver the news in that moment instead of letting somebody else? You got to air it, but then you're going to let everybody else talk about it. You're missing a huge opportunity, in my opinion.
yeah, I miss the days when the race was over, you would have, and it was something NBC did really well um, for a long time. And then as their contract dwindled down, they just kind of changed their focus. But for a long time after the race, kind of like they do in the NFL after a post-game thing, you have the winning quarterback and marquee MVP players go up there and they talk either on stage or they meet with the broadcasters or whatever, and you get that Well, I remember when in NBC the drivers would go and sit on, a stage afterwards with Kyle Petty or Dale Jarrett or whoever, and you get 10, 15 minutes of their time and you get those initial thoughts, like that dedicated interview space. And we don't
Yeah.
get that anymore. I think that's something that's missing they need to go back to.
Oh
So,
yeah.
um, what about you, Blake? Any thoughts on Corey or his decisions?
I I think he's full of crap, personally. He I decided to go part time. You didn't decide to do that. What ride are you going to take full time? There
He,
wasn't one.
he did say there was an opportunity to go racing full time with RWR, but with the change in the charter payouts and dynamics, that influx of additional money was going to give Rick finally an opportunity to put a better car under Cody. And and Corey didn't want to stand in the way of that. I still think to some extent, I agree with you. I think the reality is Corey from day one has shot himself in the foot in terms of you would rather be in the cup show and run last than and be there on Sunday than run the others. And I think that's where people were saying he was kind of talking down to it. He's like, people don't want to run in the minor leagues. Everybody's goal is to get to cup. And while I agree, would I rather run in the back and get no time on TV, or would I rather go down there and win? I mean, I think I would rather go down and win in
You get time on TV every time you get lapped.
True.
That's the Arby's car
Correct.
at Bristol last year.
Yeah, yeah, that Arby's car. Every time it goes by, it's a sandwich break. But
Yeah,
I
so I
mean,
mean,
I,
but
I
I mean, I just don't agree. I don't agree with him. Uh the trucks are on FS1 every week. There
yep,
are people. The reason FS1 keeps buying that contract is they obviously get viewership.
yep,
So there may not be a lot of people in the stands, but there are decent amount of people watching. And if you if you win in trucks, guess what? Xfinity owners want you. Guess what? Those Xfinity owners turn into cup rides.
yep.
The kind of the backtrack on the John Hunter Nemechek thing. I think what he did now, just looking at it now, armchair quarterback, I think he screwed up because Front Row is now a better team than Legacy where he's at now. So he actually went down, won a lot of races, but then he came up and got into a team that was worse off than what he was in to begin with.
I agree.
He
So
well, he put himself right back in the same situation. He left. He
No,
left Front Row
I think
because Front.
Legacy's worse than where he was before.
I got to agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, see, so I think his intent was good. I think where he messed up was he got in such a hurry on the way back up that he took the very first offer he had within the Toyota development program.
Yep.
And if he had waited, I think if he had continued to run in trucks or Xfinity and continue to rack up wins, I'm not sure Chase Briscoe's in that 19 car.
I
That,
think he is.
but even if he is, maybe he's only got a 1 year deal. Like you got 1 year in this really good car, it's put up or shut up. You got everything.
Yeah, maybe,
So,
maybe.
but
But
there's
that's
just
where I stand on that. I think he screwed up. I think he should have stayed with the 38 because he was having good runs in the
yeah,
38 when he was there.
yeah. I think he
And,
kind of like Ty Gibbs with his comments about his crew chief. He pulled the plug prematurely before it
I
really.
think so.
So,
He,
but
he
to
wouldn't.
Corey's,
He wouldn't do that.
no, no, never. They never do that. But to your point about Corey, I really think what I think it is I think he ultimately, I think some of it is the Parker Kligerman mentality of like, I've been doing this for however many years. I've spent 20 years of my life trying to get there. I've got, 4 or 5 good years left. If I go down,
Also,
I'm not getting back up. And
Corey's 33, not 37.
Yeah, he's still young.
Yeah,
well, our
he
days are
looks he
old.
looks
He looks really
37.
old. He looks older than we do.
he's
With
he's 33.
those 3 kids have weighed on him then. But either way, I think his inability to accept going down to a lower series to build your reputation. I mean, again, he's never won a series, top three series race, period. So
Well, he's only ran in what, two truck races, Chris?
Yeah, perspire.
Yep.
But one of the comments he said, and I think this is where people think he was talking down about the lower two series. Like, I'll admit, I don't watch a lot of truck racing because I used to watch it all the time when it was the Hornadays and the Spragues, and even later into that when Kyle Busch was still running it all.
You mean
But
back when they had more power?
when they had more power, and when it wasn't kids with money buying their way in, and it was a lot of veterans because you had, I mean, you go down there, it was still really good racing, and they weren't just running each other over.
Well, if that's the case, you shouldn't even be watching Cup right now then.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Some weekends I don't turn it on. I just listen to it. Put it on my
Yeah,
headphones and
Chris, he listens to it way more than he watches it.
I'll
Way
listen
more.
to it. There are certain ones I watch because I know they're going to be good, but there are certain ones where I'm like, this is going to be a crap show.
I do know there's been a couple times where you're listening to it like this is good. I'm gonna turn this on.
Yep. But I do think to some extent, kind of like the Parker Kligerman mentality. I think he didn't say that, but I think that probably weighed in his decision making, whether he wants to admit it or not, is like you've got a peer within your peer group that's doing the same kind of thing. How long am I willing to invest trying to get to my goal, knowing that that window is probably pretty much sailed? The next person in line for a top level Chevy ride is Conor Zillich, no question. So the next person in line for a top Ford ride is probably, if it's not going to be a Carson Quaffle, because his dad drove for Ford, and even though he's going to be running for Junior and Chevy, like I could see him easily jumping back to Ford because of that past relationship. He drove,
Especially where front,
you know,
especially if we see where front row ends up because they've got a huge tie-in with front row.
yep, I could see him there. I could see him with Roush because I mean, his Travis Quaffle ran for Roush in trucks. He had, and so I can see Carson when he gets up there. So in terms of like, unless Corey was willing to bring himself back down into the mix, I think his chances of building himself into the rest of the pecking order were almost no chance whatsoever. With all the younger guys coming up that are down there, they are getting it done at the end of the day. You know,
Well, yeah, Rouse. I meant Rouse. Quap or Gilliland's the one I was is that
yeah,
was with front row.
yeah. But I mean, I think that's a similar thing. Another guy that has taken his time and worked his way up. So with that, we talked about you mentioned it a minute ago about JHN's situation, which brings us to another piece of news. So I guess Maury Gallagher, who Johnson partnered with for GMS to form Legacy Motor Club, uh, now is just like a figurehead, kind of like Richard Petty. So Jimmy Johnson is the primary owner with an investment group over Legacy. I don't see anything getting any better personally. Jimmy Johnson doesn't know anything about running a race team. Um, and now he's separated himself from the Chevy umbrella where, they invest all that in making him successful from, you know, off-road trucks all the way through to his cup career and even over when he was in IndyCar. Well, now he's back over and he's with Toyota, and he said openly, like they have all the data from Toyota. They don't have the people that yet that understand how to break and process all that data down. So I don't know how this, if anything, does anything better for Legacy Motor Club. I honestly feel bad for, not for JHN because of the decisions he made. I feel bad for Eric Jones because Eric Jones is a genuine, good, badass race car driver who is basically, in my opinion, languishing away his career and unfortunately is going to end up not being able to do all that he probably could because
Yeah, he
chucked
he
out
he
Gibbs.
he ended up right where Logano was headed if Penske wouldn't have picked him up.
Yep,
And unfortunately, the sad part is John Hunter Nemechek is another perfect example of exactly what time and time again, and I mean, numerous. I could go through, I'd have to put some thought into it, but there's probably a list of 10, 15 drivers that all came through Toyota Racing Development that got to the point where they should have been in the Cup Series and got shit on.
hmm
And it was career ending for him. That had way more talent than probably half the field we see now right now.
yeah,
And Jones and Nemechek are proof of that. They are drivers that deserve to have cup rides, but they're not in the cup ride they deserve.
agreed. They both won several races, Jones titles, and they're not in the caliber of equipment that demonstrate or even allow them to demonstrate their level of talent.
Nope.
If anything, Jones has proved time and time again he can outperform his equipment.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know what offers he had on the table when he decided to extend with Legacy, but I would have left there in a heartbeat if I had an opportunity. Even if think the same, like whether it's Furniture Row or not Furniture Row, Front Row, any one of those, because I feel like their upswing. Yeah, you're third in line at a Toyota team, but I don't know. I don't see any upward mobility for anything out of Legacy.
No, I honestly am kind of baffled what you touched on a couple minutes ago, where Jimmy, what makes Jimmy think that this is a brilliant business move to now become the majority owner in a team that is going nowhere? Why would you want majority ownership of a team that you get no backing from Toyota? They've made it clear that you're not a priority to them. They've made that pretty clear. That's been talked about numerous times. That
Yep, he gets
they
more money than he got from Chevrolet, but that's it. He's getting more
yeah,
money. He's not getting more.
he's not getting the resources to help put people underneath him, to help build the cars, to help make them go. He's not getting that from them. Money. What does money do when the money doesn't mean a damn thing?
Same thing it did for Front Row before they actually put money into Joe Gibbs. Nothing.
Yep. I don't know. It sucks to see, well, from a couple different perspectives. Like I was never a big Jimmy Johnson fan because he came in and he ruined, Gord what could have been Gordon's legacy first off, and several other drivers for that matter. I'm sure you weren't because he ruined Mark Martin's, championship run there when he got with HMS. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody who's fans of other drivers that likes Jimmy Johnson. I give him all the credit in the world, him and Chad and that team for what they accomplished with their 5 championships, back to back to back. 6 and 7 I have asterisks with heavily, especially number 7. So
His last win has an asterisk with me.
yeah,
His very last win at Dover. He jumped
but
the start. Did they black flag him? No.
just it first, it pains me to see him get in a car every time and do the Daryl Waltrip, the Morgan Shepherd thing where you're out there running around, or Terry Labonte, and you're tarnishing your legacy. You are one of only 2 living 7-time champions, and Richard Petty's day is going to come. Sadly, that's just life. And so,
Well, the
why are
shitty
you?
part is even Richard Pearson, even those guys did it.
Yep,
They stayed around way too damn long.
yep. But I don't feel like he's bringing, he says he gets in the car because it's with the goal, the mindset to help your team. The problem is he didn't run a full season in this car. He left when this car was introduced at the end of 2020 and in 2021. And so when this car was really entering its developmental stages to be on track the next year and all the testing was happening. So he's
He
so
wasn't
far
there.
behind and he races so little in it. I don't see how anything he does is helpful to that team in terms of being behind the wheel. If anything, he's a detriment because you're giving them data points that are not consistent. So I don't care that you're a 7-time champion or that you've got 87 wins. I don't know that I can trust your data because you're not in there enough to be able to know that it's consistent data.
Well,
You
I was,
might lead me
and
down
not
the wrong track if
well,
I'm or if I'm
and even if, just from the team standpoint, even though he's the owner, when are one of you going to step up and be like, out of 3 cars, you're the last, you're the lowest of the fucking 3 we have. You always finish below your 2 teammates.
And not
So
only that, you usually, I think, 9 times out of 10, you wreck in the first 3 laps.
yep,
he had what?
Tell me I'm not wrong
Two
about
out of
that.
two out of the 3 races that first year. That yeah, he did. The first one was the very first corner. The second
Yeah,
one was the first lap. Yeah, didn't even make the first lap in two of the 3 races he ran the first year.
yep,
ridiculous.
yep. I agree. I agree. So I don't see how him becoming the majority owner now that changes anything because GMS was successful in trucks. They know how to build a successful race team. It's harder to do in Cup, but at least you have that experience. Now you've pushed out Petty. Now you've pushed out Maury. What are you bringing to the table that's going to help besides your name that's going to help create a successful?
Is he still living overseas?
And that was the other thing. Like if you're not there on a day-to-day basis, we've seen this. Like all you have to do is
Tony
look at
Stewart.
SHR.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All you have to do is look
Uh,
at SHR to see that the difference in an owner that's present and an owner that's not. Tony was not present because he didn't like the direction NASCAR was going by his own admission, stopped being as heavily involved in it, had new, goals, desires. The team folded ultimately. Three charters gone, down to one car team.
Well, yeah, not only was Stewart not around because he didn't like the way NASCAR was headed, but even Gene was never around because he
F1.
was he'd rather go hang out with the even richer people.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then Stewart, not only was he not there, he was either out sprint car racing. He's meeting his new wife was, that's awesome. He's got a kid now. And
Yep.
then he started a drag team, which is already successful. And it goes to show you he's at that track every week, isn't he?
Yep.
And they are competitive. So you can see the mold that creates. And you
Yep.
see that when he bought into Stuart Haas Racing, the team flourished. But if he's not there, heads don't roll.
Yep. Yep. Ultimately,
So
that
but
experience.
I think I think if Johnson doesn't actually take a true hands-on approach with this, you're going to see those Chargers sell in the next 3 to 4 years.
I honestly don't think Jimmy has the know-how to take that approach.
Yeah, it boggles my
Well,
mind.
he never did have Napa sponsorship.
No, you don't have that Napa know-how. It just boggles my mind. Okay, you were basically tutored under Jeff Gordon, and then from that under Rick Hendrick. You, other than Roger Penske, you have had the best example of information on how to build and run a successful race team. There's that him and Roger and Rick are the two most successful race team owners in NASCAR. No question in terms of total wins, how to, year in, year out, manage their business and everything. Like, how did you not take any of this on board when you were there? Like, what, I just, I don't understand it. You were there, you were under this system. I mean, look at what Brad, and all you have to do is look at what Brad Keselowski did for Roush when he came over from Penske. Within 3 years, qualifying for the playoffs, winning marquee events, and winning multiple races a season within 3 years. They took that team from a C team to a B plus, sometimes A minus, and now they're expanding back to a three-car team. They've got new sponsor interest. They're attracting good personnel, and they contend for wins. So, like, if you need any proof that if you're there as a driver and you take that on board and you study that business leadership skill set from a Roger Penske, a Joe Gibbs, a Rick Hendrick, that you can be successful, all you do is look at what Justin Marks did with Trackhouse, what Denny's doing by learning from Joe Gibbs with 2311, what Brad's doing with RFK. Like, I don't understand how Jimmy's messing this up, honestly.
Here's the
It's
difference.
hard.
When Brad bought into what now is RFK, the first thing he did was what? He had them paint the walls, paint the floors, like beautify the place. He had everybody buy in.
Yep,
What's Jimmy done? He's wrote a check. I mean, that's what I have.
that's true. That's all it's been
What
talked
else?
about.
What else has he done? He's
Yep, and
writing checks, but is he mingling with the people? Is he cleaning the cracks? Like I don't think he is.
yep,
I think the biggest I think the biggest disconnect there is not only did Jimmy not seem to pick anything up coming from the most successful team in motorsports right now, outside of where he basically took over, Petty Enterprises,
yep,
coming from Hendrick Motorsports, I honestly don't think he's surrounded with the people to not only have the business sense to run it the way it needs to be run, but where Brad Keselowski has a giant upper hand on Jimmy, if it came down to it, you could put Brad in that shop and Brad could help him fucking build a car. You think Jimmy could?
no,
No,
I
not at
don't think
all.
so either.
Not at all. Yeah, I don't think even for as successful as he was, even coming through the off-road racing and even through the lower. I mean, honestly, I think the guy had the talent, but he, he out of all, how many years did he run in the Xfinity series? And the only Xfinity win he ever had was what, his seventh year into the in after what, after his seventh Cup season, he finally won an Xfinity Series race in the
No,
five car.
he won a race in the 92. It was a fuel mileage race at Chicago, I believe.
Okay,
The year before the year he got his, signed the deal for 48, he won a race, but it was fuel, I believe, if I remember right, it was fuel mileage. He never won a race after that. He has one Xfinity win, period.
okay. I thought it was in the five, or so. I thought it was in the five car that he won a race,
No,
but
it
yeah,
was in the
all right,
92. It was a red 92 Excedrin car.
yeah.
I just feel like so when again I look at so there's in 2023 was when Johnson took over. 2022, Eric Jones won the Southern 500 in
Yep.
an RPM car. And in that year, they almost qualified for the chase. Like they were heading the right direction after Petty partnered with GMS, who had 71 race wins between Xfinity and trucks to their name. So they know how to build success. They were headed on this path. Jimmy Johnson comes in and they can't find their head from a hole in the ground. Like they are so out to lunch and it's just unbelievable. Like how are you here and now you can't even get that you don't even
Did,
sniff
No,
it.
did Eric
yeah, they wouldn't even be able to find their ass with their head buried in it.
did
No,
Eric Jones even have a top five last year?
I don't believe so. The legacy cars, like they had speed at times, but when they did, they would overdrive them and wreck them or get caught up in other circumstances. But I mean, it was very rare we talked about anything. And like I said, they had, spots of what looked like potential, but they were very, very few and far between. I just don't, again, I don't know how they're going to get any better with this move. Now you've had the guy who brought all the success and understanding knowledge to build a win to be able to build a winning team. And even he's taken a step back and it's not good. Like I agree. They're going to be, I'm in agreement with Blake. I think it will not surprise me if we see those charters up for sale in the next 2 to 3 years. And it really won't surprise me if you see as soon as Eric Jones and Hunter Nemechek's contracts come available, if they can get anything even close to even half a step better. Because we know there's lots of guys out there right now that are currently on 1 year deals that are not, uh, you know, not long term. As far as I know,
He had
Barry's
one top
contract's
five
not
last
long
year.
term. Yeah, so Barry's contract's not going to be long term unless he performs, and that's basically a fourth Penske car. You've got the Spire cars; those are all tentative. The front row cars all have long term contracts, so that's good for them.
What?
So,
What? I want to ask that question. Why do you think the where do you think the big disconnect is with Wood Brothers? Why are they doing basically why the reason why McDowell wanted to leave front row because it would never offer long term contracts? I mean, how do you expect your team to grow and get better if everything changes every year?
yeah,
I believe that has to do with their only true sponsor being Motorcraft. I think to only give 1 year contracts.
I mean, well, then I'm sorry. I understand Motorcraft has been there with that team forever, but at what point is it just not going to be successful anymore? I mean, they haven't been successful in a long time.
well, in this instance, so other than Harrison Burton's win last year and the handful little bits of speed that Menard had in the 21, and then before that,
Blaney won.
well, Blaney won in it. Wasn't DiBenedetto in it for a year? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, and he ran fairly well.
it was two, right? He was in it for 2 years, wasn't he?
Yeah, and they were making progress. So I guess I don't understand, for the 21 car, I'm hoping Barry will be successful because, I mean, that car is literally prepared inside the Penske shop and they have won the last three championships. So you would think that car should be successful. And maybe he'll buy into, the Penske way, if you will, even though he's with Wood Brothers and
It
he'll be
is
successful.
it actually prepared inside that shop? I have never seen
It is.
footage of
It's literally on
pictures
the
with it
It's literally
beside.
on it's on the setup plate in the same line as the Indy cars
Okay.
and the other Cup cars. Yep, it's
Okay.
right there.
I've never seen a picture with a 21 with the 22 or
Yep.
the 2 or the 12. I've never
At
seen a
first, I didn't
picture.
think so either, but the tire changer, Blaney's tire changer, or yeah, Blaney's tire changer confirmed it.
Right.
Flores. So, I mean, it's all out of the same shop. So he should. I would hope. I think of the ones who got nude rides. I think he's got a pretty good shot at being successful based on that. But
Okay.
so
I think he's got the potential with some of the runs that he had when he was in the 9 car. I don't see why he couldn't.
yep, and the handful that he had that were good with Rodney, like he's got the talent. I mean, he won in the first season with JRM and won and competed for the Final Four. So, and
Yeah.
he's like a highly decorated short track racer. So, um, all right. So in other news, NASCAR said there will be no changes, which we had figured based on the date and time frame to the playoffs. But they did say the thing I think that's interesting is after the 2025 season or toward the end, they're planning to build an exploratory committee to look at changes for the 2026 season, but they don't want to keep piecemealing it anymore, like one little change here, one little tweak there. They want to get together with teams, drivers, like basically all the stakeholders, and
So
just
if they do it, they want to do a complete overhaul.
they didn't say that that's not what
That's
it's
what it sounds like to me. Like
that's what I hear,
we're not going
but
to make small tweaks. If we're going to do something, we're going to, you know,
like it's not going to go away. They've said that, but they want input from manufacturers, media, officials, drivers now, and teams. What I want to
And
know is who has the high, whose weight or value or voice has more weight there. You know, the competitors, the media members, the teams. You know, the people who have to spend the money for the licensing, the people that spend them who have to spend that money to go racing, the people that are in the cars that could die. You know, and we've seen that not too long ago with Ryan Newman's car and the Corey LaJoie wreck, where we weren't sure Ryan Newman was going to come out of that coma. Um, I'll be interested to see how those meetings go, if any of the details are public, and then whose voice actually carries what weight. I think it's drivers will be last. I think it
the
the way
voice that
they
will matter is the TV partners. That's the only one that will matter.
well, what it says here is it says seeking opinions from drivers, teams, manufacturers, media, and officials. And I think, and the funny thing is the way they're ordered in the release of the statement, if you read it in reverse, I think that's exactly the weight their voice will matter. The
yep.
Hmm.
officials will have final decision, followed by the media, TV partners, followed by the manufacturers, then the teams. And if we give a damn, we'll listen to you drivers, but probably not.
I'd like to see that article and put a little comment in there and be like, well, we've already seen how the manufacturers weigh in last year. How do you think
Yep,
that's going to go?
exactly. So that was on
Uh,
JC, what they're going to do there.
good God.
Yeah. So I mean, that'll be
If they do anything, and I know we sort of talked about it, early episodes, but I I really think our playoffs are too long. I really do. It's 10 races out of 36 is,
a third of the season.
yeah, it's
Essentially.
just, I think it's too
When we
long.
did our schedule breakdown, we already showed like I think the whole season's way too long, but the playoffs are way too long in themselves. I agree. But if we were going to reformat them, I really hope that they take into consideration Eric E steps where you flip it. You have a one wild card race to get in, and then 3 rounds of three. And the
That
Yep,
makes
that's
it
what I
so
was
much
really
better.
hoping for this year. I was really, really hoping that they would do that.
same. But I can understand not making a change on the fly, waiting this late. I feel like if they wanted to make these changes, honestly, the penalty rule changes aren't so bad. They released them early enough, but I think any championship or season-long performance, specification changes, granted they can do whatever the hell they want. I think you have to give teams enough time because you have to be able to take any playoff changes back to your sponsors because your contracts for your sponsorship, who's on the car during those 10 races, whether you're in the playoffs or not, is very critical. And so you need to understand what the format is to be able to properly sell how you're going to get that marketing, ROI to a potential sponsor or partner. So, all right. So in other news, Red Bull's making their return. The cars are just okay, but they're making their return. We've known since last year and a little bit before that that they were, a partner of uh, SVG's from Supercar, and he's a Red Bull driver. But now this is the first time, and when's the last time we saw a Red Bull car? The COT days? No, yeah,
Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah.
2011 was the last one. They went away after 2011 because that was when Casey Kane won. Because then in 2012 he went to HMS. So in 2011 was the last Red Bull car. So it's been 14 years since we've had a Red Bull car on track. I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping that now they've learned, you know, how to set their expectations. They're going to have Conor Zillich in his Cup debut uh, sometime during the season, and then you're going to have SVG in his. So
Well, they're slowly dipping their foot in this time. Where last time they went two cars
yeah,
on a whole team and threw all the money in the world at it, kind of like they did with F1.
well, it's
But
kind of the same approach Toyota took without
yeah,
really putting the money into it, and then once they figured it out, yeah,
but I think it is smart how they're slowly coming in. I think that they'll have if if they get a win with SVG on one of these tracks that they're coming to, or who knows what Conor Zillich will do, but I think that if they get one win, they'll be an even bigger sponsor in 26.
I agree. I mean, WeatherTech and Red Bull have been with SVG since his supercar days for a long time. So, and he's got set says he's got 78 wins and 47 pole positions in that, which is insane. So he's the Jimmy Johnson of supercar, essentially. Uh,
I'm honestly shocked NASCAR is letting it happen because Monster is the official energy drink of NASCAR. And usually, when somebody's the official anything of NASCAR, you
yeah,
can't have a opposing sponsor. So
I
that's,
would
and
agree
I'm
with you.
going to applaud NASCAR for not, hindering this ability to bring sponsors in because we saw with the phone companies
Oh yeah, when they did
that
the
that was
exclusivity stuff, it
atrocious.
ran off a lot of
And
partners.
they're still doing it with gas companies.
Yeah, yeah, with
When
Shell.
when when Haviland got on the 99 truck, they weren't allowed to put the Texaco emblem or the Chevron emblem on that truck because it was a gas.
Yeah,
If you're not already in the series, you can't do it. It's stupid.
yeah. Well, Monster came after NOS, and NOS has been here for a long time, and they're so I don't know. I agree. Obviously they've changed their stance on that exclusivity, which is good. I don't think you want to be doing anything that turns away at this point with how hard it is to get sponsors and money for teams and to go racing. I don't think NASCAR wants to do anything if they can. I would hope that would prevent them from being able to put a team from being able to put a car on a track. That being said, they are, contesting the lawsuit, so
Yeah,
we'll
I was gonna say this leads perfectly in right back into the damn lawsuit.
yeah. So we'll see there.
I
Um,
think I think it's a move by them to try and lessen the blow of everything that went on and the accusation of being a monopoly. That's I think that's exactly what they're trying to step away from now, or at least backtrack on right now.
you know what? That's a very valid point. I didn't even take that part into consideration, but it's a very valid point there, Chris.
I wonder if it's part of the new charter agreement somewhere. I mean, we don't have the full
Maybe.
agreement in front of us,
Which,
or
speaking of the new
have the
charter agreement, they did say, to your question, Chris, last week, they did say that the OEP does apply to current NASCAR drivers that retired recently, Truex and Johnson. However, only one person can use the OEP per race.
Yeah,
So Helio already claimed it, and it has to be 90 days out. So I
yeah,
think it's interesting.
which they didn't announce until it was less than 90 days beforehand. So he kind of had the upper hand there. But the other thing that I'd be curious to find out is I know that they expanded. Blake talked to about me. I talked to Blake about it a little bit, but it still doesn't explain. Okay, so if you do get multiple that do sign up for it, what's going to be the deciding factor outside of if all three of them don't qualify on time, then who gets it?
Right. Or
well, they're only going to award it to one. So whoever signed up for it first, if they say yes, then that's the one who got it. It's going to be
So, so
definitely
then
going to
so
be
then
timestamped.
so then you might as well just go in at the beginning of the season and just hand fucking 36 of them in then and
well, I
say
guess
fuck everybody else. I've
I
got
see
here
like
first.
to your point, it's kind of like putting in a bid on an item on eBay. If we all submit our bid at the same time, how are you determining if I'm Trackhouse, you're 2311, and you're HMS, and we all three want to put a world-class driver in there? Let's say it's Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Kimi Räikkönen. All three Formula One world champions, all three world-class race car drivers in their own right, and they all want to be in the same race. You're gonna who are you gonna tell no?
They're not going to tell any of them no. They're going to make an exception to the rule
You're
because
probably
they're
right.
going so
You're
hard on
probably
doing
right
this.
because I don't think
Okay.
they would want to do
Well,
that.
let's reword that. You got Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon.
Yeah. Again, who are you gonna tell no?
They'll tell Tony Stewart to go screw off.
17. They probably would tell.
Probably,
They
but you
probably
have
would.
a three-time champion, a four-time champion, and a seven-time champion. I mean, I mean, where it, it I just
I don't know why you're limiting it. If you're gonna have an OEP, fine, have an OEP. But with right now, with there being potentially per the charter agreement up to 43 chartered cars, and the field on an average race weekend is no more than 40 cars, I don't know why you would limit it to one. If
because
three of them want to apply for it, 90 day, and they meet the 90-day out requirement, and all three, and there's three entries requested for that, then let them have it. What's the harm?
and because technically there's not how many cars are qualifying this year? 42.
No, no, it's you mean how many people are showing up?
Yeah.
I think there's
Oh,
nine.
it's like 50.
Yeah, there's like 9 open cars.
There's 10 now with Corey.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's 41 spots for 49 cars. Well, 40 spots for 49 cars. 41 depending on what Helio does.
Yep. So I'm glad they added some context to it. But the other thing is,
But it still doesn't make any sense if you have wording in the actual rule book that there's up to 43 charters. Why wouldn't you allow a 43 car field?
exactly. Just
That's
if they're not all in use, then you got
Well,
there's all those
the
spots.
40,
Let them run.
the 43 verbiage is just purely for if you get a Honda or a Nissan or somebody else to come in, you have five charters that you can go here. Thank you for coming to our sport.
but 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 that's only
I
when it
I can't
benefits.
math today. That's 7.
Yep. I was gonna say
Sorry.
36, 43.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, no.
But when
Well,
I
but
went
that
to school in Kentucky. I got math.
I did, and I very low grade point average. Damn it!
You,
But that's
Alan.
fine.
All right, fine.
he was worried about trying to get me on. He didn't get a nap. Leave him alone.
All right.
I did get a nap actually. When I found out your time period, I took a damn nap. Shut the hell up.
No, but my point being is, so you're only going to allow a 43 car field when it benefits you. We're back to that bullshit again. That's something that could be brought up
Yes.
again in the lawsuit. I mean, come on. You'll
Yep.
allow 43 cars in as long as you're benefiting the sport by bringing another manufacturer in. But if you have been around the sport for years, say Mike Wallace, for example, even if he had raced something in the last few years,
Yep.
how in the hell, if he's willing to show up, why not extend it to that 43 cars? Only send 5 home instead of 9 or 8 or whatever the hell it is.
Yep.
Not 8 to 9 cars. You're only going to send 5 or 6 home instead of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Because it looks better that many cars showed up, and you had to send so many home.
Yeah.
It sounds better. It really does. Just like the Indy 500. I bet they love hearing, 15 cars went home because they didn't make speed.
Yeah. You're
33 make the
Oh, man.
field for Indy 500 no matter what. Sorry about your luck.
Unless another manufacturer shows up, and then we'll move it to 40.
Yeah.
I
Then
doubt
we'll
it.
go to 40, and then there's still 3 open after that. So
The good thing we have for that is Roger Penske is way smarter than that, and he'll go, nope, 33. Sorry, we're not messing with perfection.
yeah.
400,000 people show up every year. I'm not messing with that.
And that again is exactly what baffles me on why he signed the fucking agreement to begin with. Why he didn't stay with Front Row and 2311.
Yeah,
Probably like Rick Hendrick. He was tired and didn't want to deal with it. He got other things to deal with.
you're not wrong. He's definitely got a lot more. So the other thing I thought was interesting, and I posted on Twitter because it just I don't know how much y'all listen to. Well, I know Blake does fairly regularly because he and I will
I got
talk about it or were before. But do you listen to the Dale Jr. download a lot, Chris?
usually, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if it's been your observation since he quit driving full time, but and built the media booth, but it's been mine. It's hard to say Dale Earnhardt Jr. is an idiot, but I feel like he's getting dumber the more years he stays out of the car. Like and I say dumber in the sense of, in the context of, he's so far toward the TV media side of things that he forgets the competitor inside him and like what he would want if he was still in that car. And to my point, so he and TJ talked this week about having this guy in the Clash, the local track champion.
Yeah.
And why is he not okay with that if he's okay with Helio and vice versa? And like what's the difference? And so I blasted him on Twitter. I'm like, the difference is this guy being in the Clash has zero impact to somebody's season. He's not going to stop them from making the playoffs. He's not taking any points off the table. He's not going to potentially wreck them and make them finish last. Helio Castroneves getting a unearned free spot in the Daytona 500, and he causes a wreck, can potentially put somebody in a hole that takes him half the year to get out of right off the
Yeah.
bat. No
Yep.
matter how you slice it, in the name of the ratings, we're willing to ruin somebody's season by putting somebody who I don't care that Helio's won how many 500s and he's a world class driver. He, Max Verstappen, those guys have no business being in a points paying cup race. You want them to come to the All Star and we want to have an exhibition race where they have no impact on the season? Fine. But I don't think anybody, I don't care who they are, should be in the regular 36 or 28 or however long our season is, because now you're impacting somebody else's season long goal. You know,
And you should have posed it the exact same way that you said it on the last show that we did. So if you went through and you told all these fucking indie guys, well, even though he didn't qualify, Larson still gets to start the race. Those guys would have burned that son of a bitch to the ground.
mm-hmm.
They would have burned that place to the ground and been like, "You're going to do what?"
Yep. Yep. You don't see the other, like, to that point. If Kyle Larson said tomorrow he wanted to go Formula One racing, they're not going to let an open team join the Formula One field. Formula One, they've put GM through hell just to get the effort that Andretti with Cadillac is trying to do to get on the grid. They don't do like, oh, there's an open spot for somebody. They don't give a damn how big your checkbook is. The whole group has to vote on it to be able to enter
They
the Formula One grid.
they publicly said we don't think the Andretti name would even bring anything to our series, let
Exactly.
alone somebody like Kyle Larson. Fucking
Right.
come on.
So to
Don't go who? Get out of here.
exactly
Yeah, yeah, yep.
hung money, hung.
Anytime I see on X somebody comparing Larson to Verstappen, there's an F1 person on there going, he couldn't compete with his napkin or whatever
Yeah.
or his handkerchief. He couldn't compete with Verstappen's pinky, and it's like you don't understand who you're even talking about.
No, but I'm just the to my point of I'm severely disappointed that here's Dale Jr., who is arguably the most influential voice in NASCAR, most popular voice in NASCAR, has this massive platform, massive racing history, historical guy, and you don't see the problem or the disparity between these two things. How do you not? You were a competitor. How would you feel if I put you back in your red 8 Bud car? You're in that championship fight, and now I drop Helio in the field and he wrecks you. He's not even supposed to be there, and he takes you out of the championship. That's the point.
I want to
Yeah.
know,
If
Chris.
he, if he qualified on time, that would be one thing, but to just give
Right.
him the damn spot,
Yeah.
no, I don't. It's no.
Yeah.
What's up?
When Travis Pastrana was in the 500, he caused that wreck on the last lap.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did If you went back and looked at who was in that wreck, do you think that it created any issues with making the playoffs later that year?
I'd have to see who was involved again.
I mean, do you think there's a chance? Because,
Well,
you
yeah, I
know,
mean, when
so
because
so
at that point they were what? When that wreck started in what, sixth place?
around there, sixth to tenth, somewhere in that state.
So you're going from sixth to tenth, where you're going to be earning 34 to 34 to 28 points, as opposed to getting knocked back. There's probably a couple wrecks before that, so you're probably going to end up in the high 20s, low 30s, where you're earning maybe double digits, if not just high single digit. Yeah, that can affect the
So
championship.
just like Darlington Spring last year, you
Not
had
necessarily, well, maybe not affect the championship come the final race, but that could definitely affect who does or doesn't make the chase.
Yeah. Just
if
like
it happens, if a wreck happens, you're going to have a situation like Chris Buescher at Darlington in the spring, where he goes up to Helio and goes, "You just took a sticker from me."
Yeah,
yeah.
you already had the sticker on your car. What? Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
if somebody gets wrecked by Helio because he has absolutely no business being in the car,
Marijuana.
sorry, you know,
I
I
got
was
you.
just trying to win the 500. Well,
Yeah,
you're you've just created this might have been my only shot to win this year. We don't know.
so I'm gonna have to get off here, guys.
All
Yeah.
right.
Understand. Well, I'm glad you're able to join us. I wanted to have that conversation, especially about Corey with you, see what you thought.
I just, yeah, I think looking at it from the aspect of the old school mentality, I'm in Cup, I need to stay in Cup, I think is going to be a career ender for him.
Mhm.
I think it
Yeah.
was a career ender, not just his, it was.
Yeah,
I don't see how, even though I was wrong about his age, I don't see how from here you taking more time off is going to get you ever back into a good ride full time. Like you're taking yourself off of people's radar. You're not putting yourself on them.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I just think, yeah, I think his time in a cup car is pretty much over, other than this limited stuff he's going to run, which may be better for him. But I mean,
Happy driving, sir.
yep,
Oh yeah. I still got a few more hours to go. So you guys have a great evening.
you too.
All right.
Thanks for being able to join us, taking a moment.
All right, dude. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
All right. So let's see. What else do we have in the way of news?
Tires.
Tires. Yes. Okay. So we're going to run an option tire for Phoenix in the spring. And if it works, then that's the tire we'll use for the championship race in the fall. What do you think about this?
I love it. I love the option race last year at Richmond. I loved how it brought different ideas throughout the field. I mean, it created the Austin Dillon drama. It created the Suarez. We saw Suarez go from 12th to first in no time flat.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's going to be interesting to see. The thing that aggravates me about it is what, why can, why can't we use this throughout the season? One and two, why are they so like against using this option stuff for the championship race? It's good for one, but not the other. Like why can't we, this is it's kind of silly in my opinion. If you're gonna do it at both. Do it at more too. Don't just do it at Phoenix. Do it at road courses. Do it as many places you can. Because that's how you're gonna make the sport better by doing that. You're you're gonna change strategies throughout the field often, very often.
So I think, as much as we don't want to have packages and those kind of things, I think the option tire, I agree with you. I think Richmond's race last year was really good. It provided comers and goers. It gave us unique storylines that we hadn't had all year. and create a strategy for teams to take chances, especially as we got closer to the playoffs. So I think overall it was good all the way around. It helped us with make a better tire for Martinsville, which ended up being a really good race as a result. And it showed that we can go even softer still. So I think all of those things are good about it. What I don't like is, initially I was against it, but the more I thought about it, I talked with you about it, and initially I was against it, but I've kind of changed my mind on it after talking to you some. I'm for it, but I want more of them. I think teams should have more sets so that you can have more strategy. And I don't want to give them too many to where they only run option, but maybe one more set, depending on the length of
One
the
more.
race, maybe one more set
Hmm.
per depending on the size of the race. And also, I think I agree with you that it should be at every short track race,
Hmm.
playoffs or not. Every short track race should get this tire, and every road course race should get this
Yep.
tire. Tracks that are not under high load. So anything a mile or less, give them the option tire, or 3/4 mile in the case of
With
Richmond. Maybe you
with
don't
the
pay for
exception of Dover and Bristol, they don't. You don't want to. Those are high load, like you just said, high load.
we
You
don't
don't
want to
want
blow in
to.
tires. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you don't
cause
want to blow
dangerous
in
wrecks.
tires at Dover.
Yep.
That's just a no-no.
But like Loudon, not so Loudon, Martinsville, Phoenix, Richmond, all should have that. The class should have it this weekend if we were
Mhm.
going to have a longer format race. Any short, 3/4 mile or less race, not a high load, high bank, so not
The All
Bristol,
Star race.
not Dover. Yep, the All-Star race, North Wilkesboro should all have this option tire. It will give you better strategy, and then all the road courses because I agree with you. I think it'll give you better racing. It'll help you get to even a softer compound point because you can develop it throughout the year. I agree. I didn't understand. I understood to an extent what Christopher Bell was saying last year with we only had an opportunity to do this once. You don't really want to introduce this random thing that may or may not work that we haven't tested at Phoenix yet to the championship playoff and have that be another factor in the playoffs. So I understood where he was coming from, and it made sense. That being said, when they ran him at Richmond and it worked, I don't know why they didn't just keep doing it at the remaining short tracks. Like that's where they messed up. And maybe they couldn't
Well,
'cause
you
they
have
didn't
to
have
have the
enough of them.
infrastructure.
Well, maybe they didn't have enough of them
Yeah.
in the development time frame to manufacture enough of them, and they've had time since then. So that's I'm with you. That's where I would make my change. I would ensure that we have enough of them to do all the short tracks and all the road courses. So basically, half the schedule would have these option tires, and it would probably fix your short track racing problem and your road track racing problem, which would pretty much bring us to damn near 80% great racing across the board. I think the restrictor plates themselves, or taper spacers, or whatever you want to call that garbage they call it right now, will eventually work itself out, at least at 2 of the 6, because Atlanta continues to wear very quickly. Regardless of what happens to Daytona and Talladega, Atlanta is going to continue to get better and better because the asphalt, we've already seen it over the last handful of races.
As much as I hate to agree, yeah, it's getting better.
It's getting better. I think eventually I think if you don't touch Atlanta and you leave things alone and they don't monkey with it, don't spray any chemicals on it, don't do anything to try and keep them bunched up. If you leave it alone, I think in 10 years worth of races, max, I think it'll be sooner than that with the massive swings in heat and cold. But I think in 10 years max, you'll be back to old Atlanta, where it'll be eating tires, you'll be hooked around the bottom,
Yeah,
or you'll be
that's
hooked
if
around the
they ever
middle.
give them power back.
Yep. But I think the way that asphalt there is wearing, I think you'll get back to the older Atlanta fairly rapidly.
Do
But
you think if, and I know this is kind of off topic, but if one team, let's just say Hendrick, decides, hey, heck with this fuel mileage stuff, all 4 cars go like hell. Start green flag drops. I don't care where you start. Go like hell. Make the field go with you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Do you think that that would change what we have? You know what I mean?
You would have to, because if you didn't, you would get lapped. Those four
Yeah.
cars or 6 cars, like let's say, like what Stuart Haas did. Like if you took Penske and RFK and you lined up all 7 of those cars, that includes Wood Brothers, in a bullet line. If you don't race with them, they will lap you in about 15 laps because they're going to be so much faster and they're not going to be dicing for position. They're going to be in like so much less drag. In 15 laps
I'm
time, they will be on your tail.
yeah, I'm just. I mean, I post on Twitter last year or so on those weekends, like, please just throttle down and see what happens. Because what do you got to lose? Just try it for a run, try it for a stage, and see what happens. Do
Well,
it
I
for the
think,
whole stage and see what it makes the field do.
well, I'm hopeful that the manufacturer penalties announced for manipulation as an addition to the rule book will hopefully take some of that out. They can't make the drivers go any faster than they want to go and the team strategists do what they don't want to do. But with the teams not being able to enforce, don't push a Ford or don't push a Ford if you're a Chevy or a Toyota or vice versa, that's at least one less contributing factor to them not passing each other or not
Yeah,
being.
but at the end of the day, three chiefs are the ones that save fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you though. I would like to see what happens if a group of them got together and just said, we're going to drop the hammer and whatever happens, happens. Let's go. I think that would
I
be a
mean,
much better.
you do that at the Daytona 500 and catch people off guard.
Yep.
You know, who
No,
cares if it takes longer to fuel up because you'll have such a lead if they don't go with you.
yeah. I
And
mean,
if they do go with you, guess what? You all need the same amount of fuel anyway.
yeah. Yep.
So who cares?
Yeah, I mean if I'm HMS, for example, or JGR or Penske, and we're starting on the front row and my teammates are lining up behind me within a car row or two, as soon as they get to me, we're gone. Like I would not be
Yeah.
saving fuel. I would go like hell. Because like you said, if I can build 6, 7, 8, 10-second lead, when I pit, yeah, you're gonna come back around, but by the time you finish your pit cycle, I'm going to end up out in front of you. I will
Yeah.
because I'll have drafting teammates with me and I will catch up. I gotta get my dog. Come here, Wally. In here, Wally. Come on. So yeah, I mean I think that's the way to go, personally. I agree with you. I think it would make for a better race, but I think the problem with that overall, kind of like the issue with the plate races in general are just way too damn long. Because everybody rides for the most part. They in these
Yep.
particular races, there's not enough incentive to race because you're all on top of each other and a small mistake takes out and ruins your day, so you're not going to do anything aggressive. If they were shorter, not that anybody ever wants to touch the historicness of the Daytona 500, but if you cut it down to the Daytona 250, I think that would go away.
You
That
just
would
put a
solve
K
it.
behind it.
Huh?
Put a K behind it, like Phoenix does.
Yeah, that's true.
Phoenix ain't a 500-mile race; it's a 500K.
Or you make it a double header. It's the Daytona 500, but you do two 250s and you award
Well,
double
don't
points that day.
don't do that to me. I don't need that in my life.
You can't take that kind of heart stress.
No.
Everybody gets two cars. You qualify two cars. If
I
your
can't
primary
handle
car
Larson getting
finishes,
wrecked twice in one day.
if your car finishes the first race, you can bring it to the second one.
Oh God. Two cars in Daytona, USA.
Yep. Get the Daytona
No,
swap.
thank you.
No. No, honestly, I think I would leave the Daytona 500 alone, but the other three, the Daytona Fall race and the Talladega Spring and Fall, I'd cut them in half in race distance.
Yep.
I think that would solve your everybody riding around. You wouldn't have time to ride around. It's so hard to pass. You would have to be strategizing from the moment the first lap dropped green.
Speaking of mileage changes, was Texas a 400-mile race last year? Because it is this year.
Thought it was 500 before because it's always been 500s.
Well, it's 400 now.
That's not a bad thing. I mean, Texas
No.
always felt like it went on forever, kind of like Pocono. So,
Yeah, when Pocono was 500 miles, my goodness gracious.
and I think overall, reduce it to the point I just made about reducing the other races. Several people in the media have said it. Um, I've talked about it before. I get that from a fan spending money perspective, I need a reason to spend my money. So give me more things to do at the track. But I think the on TV product, look at the ratings Formula One gets, and its races are less than 3 hours. Like you could tune in and everything's all over and done with in less than 3 hours. Same thing with IndyCar, and their ratings are going up. I think our stuff is too long.
And they're going to go up even more with
Yep,
straight Fox.
yep. But I think our stuff is too long now. At the time, when you go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, our races were long because it was a race of man and machine and endurance. Well, these parts don't fail anymore. These these brakes are basically indestructible for the most part. The tires, up until recently, they were bricks. You couldn't wear them out. Steering boxes pretty much don't fail. The drivers are so well conditioned, they pretty much never get worn out. So the races, all the purposes of having the longer races have all but been nullified.
And
So
you got the cool suit.
you've got the cool suit, you've got the stage brakes where you're giving them a break. They're not having to be locked in for 500 miles. They've got to be locked
Yeah,
in
they can't.
80.
It does
Take a break.
happen, but it's very rare you have like a cramp or something.
Yeah. But in terms of like, okay, I've got 80 laps, then I got a mental break, then I got 80 laps, then I got a mental break. Okay, I got 100 laps. So by turning it into all these, just all the different changes they've made have negated the purpose of having 500-mile, 400-mile races. Shrink them to 300. Shrink the
Yeah.
Xfinity races down to 200 and shrink the truck races, turn all the truck races into like Saturday night short track races. There's 100 laps. There's no stage breaks. There might be a
Yeah.
stop if you need to, but let's go like, you're going to go like hell.
In the Truck Series heyday, they went to all these small tracks
Mhm.
and they filled the joints, and it was something to be there to watch. And now
Oh, yeah.
always companion events, and I mean they do have a few like Lime Rock and a couple standalones this year, but it, it's Truck Series is like you said earlier, it's so hard to watch now because
They just
of
they just there's no really seasoned old age, cagey veteran, and you've changed the rules to where people like Kyle Busch can't come down and race all season, or Brad Keselowski or Eric Jones, or like if I'm limited to five, is it worth my time to go down there for five? Unless it's a sponsor requirement, I'm not going to go do it. So, and I'm not really
and
getting
that's
anything.
why Kyle Busch got out of it.
Yep.
It wasn't worth it anymore to
Yep,
him.
they took away the reason he enjoyed doing it, his for the benefit for his sponsors. He just said, "Okay, I'm out." So I'd like to see that. I wish they would lift those restrictions. Let them run. When they say names are made here, let me ask you: when you heard about Carl Edwards, when you heard about Brad Keselowski, you know, what made you take notice of those guys, whether you liked them or not? For me, it was going toe to toe with Kyle Busch, going toe to toe with Matt Kenseth, going toe to toe with Mark Martin on a weekly basis. Like the fact that you were able to run in the top five with these guys who were clearly in better funded equipment and had years more experience on you, and you were still able to go out there and outduel them on a Saturday or a Friday night is what got these guys their rides. It's why Roger Penske picked up Brad when Brad didn't end up under JRM up into or left JRM, like it's what made them who they are. So
Yeah,
I think it's honestly, I don't think NASCAR will ever admit it, but I think if I have to compare which one's worse, having the Cup guys come down and cherry pick the races, or having kids with money with no race ethics running over each other on a Friday night, I'll take the Cup guys any day of the week. At least the
yeah.
racing is going to be good.
And I believe it was Moody was talking. He had a Dave Moody had a discussion. Was it last week? But it was about he was asking people, "Would you like to?" Because it was after Larson won the Chili Bowl, and he said, "Do you like drivers being able to go down lower series?" And people were calling in saying, "I stopped going because Kyle Busch wasn't allowed to race anymore, and I stopped going because." Well, my guy can't race but only 5 races this year. And, I just stopped watching and so on and so forth. There were so
And
many people that just, so you might have made the fans that were tired of seeing Kyle Busch win all the time happy.
mhm.
But at the same time, now their driver can't
Well, I mean, I look
drive
at
good
it
anymore.
from the perspective of me. So I went from I used to during the Kyle Busch era when it was Hornaday, Sprague, Benson, Harvick. When you had all the seasoned veterans, Crafton was just starting, Sauter was just getting going. But like when you had all these seasoned veterans that had a cup stint and then they worked their way back down and they found a home in the Truck Series, Skinner, that was some of the best racing all weekend, every weekend, was watching those guys go at it.
Yep.
They were elder statesmen. They had years and years of experience. They raced each other hard, but with respect. And the trucks raced well. And now, I don't know about you, but I have no interest most weekends on turning it on a truck race because it's daddy's money for the most part. And I understand it takes money to go racing, but it's kids who probably shouldn't be there in vehicle, just tearing shit up and running people over. And they do it all the time. Like they pull a Carson Hocevar and I get pissed off and I left hook somebody or right hook them. Like turn down
I
into
think I might have taken in maybe a third of the season last year, maybe. It it's it's just unwatchable, and honestly, the stage lengths ruined that series for me.
their
The
races
race
are so
is
short already. They don't need
the
stage.
race is so short; it does not need a stage. If it goes caution free, who cares?
Well, this is just it. If they're not long enough to have live pit stops, why the hell do we need stage breaks? Like if you're not even gonna give them live pit stops, do we need stage breaks? No.
Well, the non-live pit stops is because of the stage breaks. That's why they do
Right.
it that way.
Right. But I mean, I
They
feel
don't want they
like
don't want teams that have money to hire cup crews or Xfinity crews to hurt the little guy. Everything that NASCAR does is to help the little guy, and does it ever help them? No. So
nope.
why do we keep doing it?
Nope. If anything, all you have to look at is look at the amount of. I would bet you it's been more detrimental by not having. Well, you lost KHI, you lost KBM, and you lost BK Racing. Okay, so there's three Cup owners that were in truck you lost that were investing heavily in that series,
Roush,
and Roush. So you lost all these. Then you lost GMS Racing when they went Cup racing because it was not really beneficial for them to be at the lower series then anymore. Like you just keep like what have they done that's helped? Like once Kyle Busch couldn't be in it anymore, he didn't need a race team down there anymore. You know, when Brad didn't need couldn't be in it anymore, he pulled chocks immediately. Like I'm just not gonna do this anymore. I can't race it. I don't need to fund it. It's not
yeah,
worth my time. Harvick, same thing. I can't run it. I don't need it. Take it off my plate. So,
yeah. And now he's got this management team which he can run at whatever he wants to do.
yep. And so now, yeah, he's out there running like he's gonna run several races against his son this year. His son's going into the modifieds and the late models and stuff. I'm excited to see what that looks like for him. But I mean,
You
just
know, I thought it was just, I mean, this is a side thing, but my little brother sent me a clip of Harvick racing. I believe it was out west, just
yep,
here recently.
yep. At
And
Kern,
I was shocked to see that his sponsor was Hendrick Cars.
right?
I was like, what? I was just beyond shocked. Like that just shows you what all Harvick did was fill in for Larson for a couple hours at the Wilkesboro, and now he's got a sponsorship with
I
Hendrick.
honestly would love to know if Harvick had decided to leave SHR, not retire, but leave SHR, if Hendrick would have made a room for him, made a spot.
Oh yeah,
I would think that he would, like in a heartbeat, like kind of like a
but
Mark
who do you at that time? Who do you kick?
Bowman.
Ally loved him too much. Do you think Ally would have like, yeah, Harvick, hell yeah,
I don't think it would have mattered. I think Rick would have given it up for the amount of wins and the championships and stuff. Like I think he'd
yeah.
run away, but maybe not. You know, I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that he would have done that for. I mean, honestly, you could take and compare that same situation. If Harvick was available, I think the reason why I think Rick would have booted Bowman and Ally for it, he got rid of GoDaddy and Brad K in the Navy. all we're coming to run the 25 car. We're going to come run the 5 car. And he said, no, I'm going to give CarQuest and
He,
Kellogg's with Mark Martin. So,
well, Mark Martin had GoDaddy.
right. But GoDaddy was on JRM at the time. Like they were going
Yeah,
to go with him. And
yeah,
Mark got GoDaddy with, as a result. So GoDaddy stayed. But I mean, I think he would have booted him in a heartbeat and been like,
yeah.
you know, yeah, you've got me a handful of wins. This guy's going to get me a bunch of wins and
I
another
mean,
car.
yeah, he did. He did say, "I know we got a contract, but
Uh-huh.
got Mark Martin waiting in the wings." And sorry, bud.
Yep. So that would have been an interesting one.
Yeah. Speaking of Mark Martin, I know we're just kind of stepping around here, but when
I
when
have
I
one more thing to talk to you about when we're done with this next pod.
when I heard when I heard him say, and I don't remember what podcast he was on. Sorry for the name drop or inability to drop the name, but he said that he had been offered the 28 car not once but numerous times.
Oh, that was in his 10 race podcast he did last year with his buddy, Justin.
I thought he was on. It was on a different podcast, I thought, but regardless, man, he would have been insane in the Yates car.
Right?
And he would have definitely won a championship, in my opinion. If he was one of the options when they picked up Kenny Irwin, like
Hmm.
just think about it because Jarrett won a championship in '99
Yep. You're
in
right.
the same cars that Kenny Irwin was driving.
Yeah,
So just imagine what Mark Martin could have done because I honestly I think Mark Martin's a better driver than Dale Jarrett.
I agree.
So just imagine what he could have done in the 28, and it's just like, why did you say no?
All
Why?
to me, all you have to do is look at what Mark Martin did in the 5 car in his 50s to know, and what he did in the 55 car to know that he's a better driver than Dale Jarrett, who languished at MWR, and Mark came over to MWR and outperformed him massively.
Well, the moment that I believe is when Brad Parrott or Buddy Parrott, I always confuse them, whichever one that Jarrett had. Once he left, he
Hmm.
he was terrible.
Thought it was
So,
Todd Parrott.
well, I knew it was a Parrott, but
All three of them have worked in NASCAR. They've all done different
yeah,
things. So
it's hard to remember which one's which. But
pull up their
once he left, he didn't do shit.
yeah.
So he is like Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was nothing without Chad Canals,
No, no.
and you know,
It hurts my heart too because I see him like last year. We'd see him run well in qualifying when he's not having to worry about running over people, and he's just out there and he's finding his way, and he'd be in the top 10, 15 in qualifying speed at places like Texas, stuff like that. And then we get in the race and he'd step on his dick.
mhm.
I'm
I
like,
don't remember him ever qualifying in the top 15.
no, no, he wouldn't qualify there. He was
Oh, he's practicing.
practice speed.
Okay,
Like his average speeds were there, and then he wouldn't qualify well, but his practice speed, like his race pace, was on point. I'm like, well, he might actually have a good race this weekend. And then he'd go screw it up.
yeah,
But at least one last thing I want to talk to you about. So Jenna Fryer posted earlier today an article about Haley Deegan, and basically she's
okay,
probably done with NASCAR for good, which I thought was already like pretty clear she was done with NASCAR for good. So, because she's going Indy next racing. Like
right,
we talk about NASCAR primarily just as something what we want to talk about, but I'm very excited to watch what happens for Haley next year in a new car style, new series, see if she can be successful. She's going to be in a top Indy next car. Her funding goes a lot further, and Roger is taking IndyCar as a whole. Again, you just said it earlier. They're going to be full time on Fox. So if she's successful, there might be a spot for her, within a couple years. I think she'll
yeah.
be,
She's still really young.
yep, she's got time. Um, you know, I'm excited. I'm excited for that to see what happens with her.
Yeah. Was she 22? Maybe 22.
She's a baby.
Yeah, she is a baby, and all these people are like, "Well, she sucked in trucks." Well, Those drives weren't that good.
No. The
And
worst thing she did was get out of the Toyota development program. You know, she should have stayed in the lower series longer. Not not just trucks, but I mean at the
I
ARCA and
I
K.
know you say that now, but like we talked about earlier with Chris, Toyota,
Oh no,
all
I
they do is they bring people in and they go, see ya. Well, they don't have a spot for you. So I mean, I don't blame her for getting out because that's all they do. They bring people in and then they go, well, we got somebody else we got in the pipeline.
yep.
They they do it over and over and over, and uh, that's what something Ford, their development pipeline to me is odd because right now there are four Fords in Xfinity. That's it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
have
They
the
don't really have much
39 and
longer.
the 28, and you have the 00 and the 41. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and the 39, 28, and sometimes 38, those cars are privately owned or, small team.
Yeah, the seed cars. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got Haas Factory now, but those, I mean, we know about Sam Mayer. We know about, what is his name? He was at 18
Creed.
last year.
Sheldon Creed.
Sheldon Creed. We know about Sheldon Creed. So, like, there's no middle ground team to bring other kids up in. So like Roush Fenway Keselowski needs to come back into Xfinity. So does Roger Penske. I mean, if they're gonna build up the lower series and bring up kids, they need to come back down. Same with
I
trucks.
think they did that, but then what happened is they kind of, from what I can see, they took the Rick Hendrick approach. I'll just wait. I'll let you build all the money into them, and then I'll just buy them. You know, like Rick Hendrick's done that with quite a few guys.
Well,
I'll let you invest the money, and then I'll just cherry pick them. But that being said, though, Hendrick has since changed his stance, though, because he funnels a great deal of money into the partnership he does with JRM. So that gets you, if the spot's available, the Chase Elliott's to bring him up through the William Byrons,
well,
the
that
Butler,
worked, but
the
now he doesn't need them. He doesn't need that now. He's got Kyle Larson. He's got Chase Elliott. Those two aren't going anywhere. William Byron's not going anywhere, as much as I hate to say it.
no.
The only one that might go somewhere is Bowman, but I think his ceiling is rising because I honestly think that now that he's healed from his back injury, I think he'll be back to 2022 form. I really do. So
I'm in agreement with you. Based on the way he performed in the playoffs last year,
yes,
he was the best performing, other than Larson, the best performing point for point, state round for round HMS car
yeah. So
in terms of consistency.
what does he need that? What does he need Junior Motorsports now? So Junior Motorsports here recently, Noah Gragson went to
Ford,
well, he went
SHR,
to a Chevy and then a Ford. He went to Legacy, which was a
right,
Chevy at the
correct. Okay.
time,
Yep. Okay.
and then he went to a Ford. But he went to Legacy. So
Honestly,
then you
for
had
Noah, the best thing he could have
Barry,
done was getting fired because
yeah,
he missed that,
yeah,
that legacy bomb.
and then he went to Barry. Barry went to a Ford. Now
Yep.
with another Ford. All these drivers, all these Chevy drivers are now going to Ford teams. Now, Junior Motorsports is becoming a track house team slowly. It's
Yep.
gonna, I mean, that's what it's. Junior Motorsports isn't a proving ground for Hendrick now. It's a proving ground for Trackhouse.
Yeah. Well, they got
And
Zillich there. Yep. You had SVG,
so
a couple of their cars, but yeah.
I don't know why Hendrick would keep until, his drivers start getting a little older, then maybe start looking into it. But his drivers are in their early 30s. Is Byron even 30 yet?
No.
And Chase isn't 30 yet either, I don't believe.
So to that point,
So
do you foresee, I don't think he would, but do you foresee Hendrick making a spot for Zillich, assuming he can get him out of his contract with Trackhouse?
that's not happening.
Like,
The Red Bull part of it is why it won't happen. And he's already got a ride for 26. I told you that in a prior episode. The 99 is a placeholder this year for just for the Mexico race.
Yeah, I'm not wrong, or I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, I think, Zillich is making his cup race debut, and I would wager to bet unless he gets in a wreck, he's going to finish in the top 10. So, and if
Oh
he
yeah.
finishes in the top 10 in those handful of cup races he's going to enter this year,
Is it giving me a handful? Because I've only heard about the one.
it'll end up being more, I think. But I know of the one, but I'm in
I
agreement.
do think
I
they're
think
doing I think they're doing it wrong in the sense of why are you, we know he can road race. Why are you not seeing what he can do in this car on a Phoenix or a Darlington? Hopefully they do, but like, why is his first his first truck race, I believe, was in a on a road course.
mhm.
I don't remember if it was or not, but
Thought it was Coda, and didn't he win?
no, he won. Who won? Did he win Coda?
He won his truck race, and he won.
No, he overdrove turn. He won the pole.
That's right.
He overdrove turn one like bad out of hell. He overdrove turn one like three times, but he probably would have won if he would have just been more, conservative. But his first truck race, Coda. His first Xfinity race, Watkins Glen, he
Mhm.
won. And now you're gonna have his first race at Coda and Cup. We know he can drive a road course.
Yeah.
Can he drive ovals in this car? That's what you need to be looking at because next year when he's in the 99, you're gonna need him to be better than
If
what Suarez is now.
if the Cup cars were on this older tire, I would say yes, he's going to be ready out of the gate because I mean he was in contention to win Phoenix last year in the finale in a Cup car in that 88 for junior. So, and that was only like his third or fourth start in an Xfinity car, and
I
he was
think he's his
competing to,
fourth start.
yeah. So he was competing to win it in the same way that Ty Gibbs, basically spanked him in the Xfinity series. But we do know that it's a bigger jump when you go to Cup. So I mean, we're going to find out.
Yeah, I'm just saying I hope they give him an oval starter too.
Yeah.
Because we know, like I said, we know the kid can road race. He's proven it. He was in the 24 hours Daytona this weekend.
Yep.
Like I know there's a lot of road races, but give it, give it a break. We got
Let me pull up the
other.
schedule. Where would I put him if I had to pick somewhere? Pull up the schedule.
I pick I pick Darlington. That's where I'd put. That's the hardest oval there is Darlington. See what you can do.
I don't know if I'd put him in Darlington. I'm not saying that wouldn't be a bad decision.
That's where Chase Elliott's first start was. That was smart.
Yeah. I think I think if I was going to put him somewhere, if I wasn't didn't do Darlington, I wanted to do it early in the year, I'd put him in at Miami. I'd take him to Homestead in March.
If not Miami, Coke 600.
Yeah. Give him plenty of laps. Yep. Well, in that stint, you've got in that race of one, two, three, four, five. Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of really good candidates in there you could stick him in.
Miami's
I
after
think he
Coda,
would do
isn't it?
much better. No, it's before. No, it is after. You're
Oh,
right. So it goes in that stint of races this year for the schedule. Like I wouldn't have put him in Coda. I agree with you. And we know he runs well at Phoenix based off of his Xfinity debut. There would be a learning curve with the car, but I think I would take him to either Vegas, Miami, Darlington. Those are all within 5 races of each other, or Texas or Kansas. Within those 7 races, unless you wanted to hold it for the Coke 600. But then that 7 race span are all really good tracks that would judge his talent in a cup car rapidly for an oval and its ability to adapt. And it are all tracks where Larson and uh, Reddick, Logano, these Blaney, these guys all excel. You're going to see those guys at their best. You're going to see really where you stack up right then and there. They're not tailored to one person's goodness. You're going to have veterans like if Truex was still in it, he'd be really good. But you're gonna have to deal with Hamlin, oldest guy in the field, Keselowski, oldest guy in the field, because they're good at those places too. But you're
yeah,
also going to have the younger guys that are reigning champions, Chase, Byron, Larson, Reddick. They all run really well there as well. I think it would be a good gauge for his talent.
Yeah.
Like you said, we know what he can do in a road course car. We saw it in the 24. We saw it, yeah, in the Rolex. We saw it in the last races last year, both in trucks and Xfinity and where he ran. So I don't think you need to see any more there, truthfully.
Yeah. So I it it this is a stupid question, but Red Bull seems to always. I mean, I'm sure Trackhouse probably picked the number possibly, but what is Red Bull's fascination with numbers in the 80s?
I have no idea. I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know. But yeah, 84, 83, 82, 80.
87.
Yep.
That just weird. I mean, it might just be ironic. Who knows?
Yep.
They
Well,
did have a 4 for 1 year, but that
yep,
was
for Casey
one
Cannon.
year.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, they're all in the eights for
Yeah.
some reason. So probably because they're available and nobody ever goes out that far. I don't know. Everybody likes to be in the 30s and 40s and 20s.
There was a stat within baseball a couple years back. I think it's been changed since then. But in the was it 200-year history of baseball, nobody had ever wore the number 84 ever. Nobody
Wow.
in Major League Baseball. 84 was never worn.
Okay.
Just a fun little factoid.
What's up? Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Drive safe. Okay.
Don't peel out with those tires.
So, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I would have rather seen him, like I said, any one of those tracks, 'cause I think you would get a much better comparison of where he stands in a track house car. Chastain runs well with those guys. Suarez ran well with them there last year at those bigger tracks as well. I think you get a better benchmark on what he's going to be capable of. But
Yep.
and maybe he will. Maybe they'll, depending on how Coda goes, they'll bring him in for some others. But he'll be the reason why I tune in and watch the Xfinity series this year. You know, see what he
Yeah.
does.
He's who I'm going to be pulling for all year.
I
I
will
don't.
not be surprised if we get to the playoffs in Xfinity and he's got 11 or 12 wins.
Uh,
That will not surprise me.
I don't know about that's pretty high.
Well, let's look at their schedule. I like to do that, but let's do that. Let's go to the Xfinity.
Oh, Rockingham test
Yep.
today.
Yep.
Butter Bean Queen says if you don't go to that race, you're out of your mind essentially because
Oh,
they
I
were
think
all over the track and it was fun and the race is going to be insane.
I cannot wait for that's my race of the year. To me, that's going to be the race right there. It's early in the year, but it's going to be the race to watch, I think.
Yeah,
It's in the first quarter of the year in the spring, April 19th. So I think that's going to be the best race to watch. But yeah, let's see. I don't think Zillich will win Daytona or Atlanta. He will most probably, I think he will most definitely win Coda because he's not going to have to compete against
going
Dinger.
going away.
He's going to win Coda going away. You don't have Allmendinger. You don't have SVG. I don't know who's going to measure up to him. I think he's going to be like a mile out in front of everybody. I think he's going to win Phoenix, even though that's been Allgaier's bread and butter. I mean,
I don't think
Zilch,
he's taking that from Allgaier.
I don't know. He's in a JRM car full time. It will not surprise me.
Okay.
Vegas, I think he'll be in contention for the win. It won't surprise me if he goes up there and wins Homestead the following week. We don't know how he does short track racing. Martinsville's going to be an interesting one. But if he does well at Homestead, I expect him to do well at Darlington. Bristol's an unknown. Rockingham, I think that'll be interesting. He was at the test this weekend, or yeah, this week. So
Was it?
yep,
It was
yep.
an organizational test or just a tire test?
He and Allgaier traded back and forth in the seven corn car. So I think it was just
Word.
for the tire test and everything. But Rockingham, depending on how his plate stuff goes in the first half, we'll get to Talladega. I still think it'll be a while before he wins there. Those are hard to win, and guys are kind of crazy. I mean, the JRM cars are fast, and usually the only people that wreck them are, well, themselves. So
Yeah.
if for some reason he hasn't won an oval by the time we get past Talladega, I think he most certainly will win at Texas and at Charlotte and at Nashville. I'm telling you, I see him. He's going
You
to
just
have a
think
massive.
he's a world burner, huh?
I think he is that much more talented than the guys he's about to go racing against. And he's
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he spanked
what
him. He flat
what
out spanked him.
what you're not looking at is there are going to be drivers that do 5 races in Xfinity.
Hmm.
I have a feeling that
Sure.
Kendrick will bring his boys back into the 17, the Larsons, and Larson and Byron and Chase and Bowman will get their stints. We already know Corey Day and
You're fine.
Raja are both getting starts in the 17. So, I mean, I think you're getting a little overzealous.
I'm just gonna say overzealous for Zillich. I'm gonna say right now, like
Very nice.
I like that. I I think Conor Zillich is gonna be your Xfinity Series champion when the year is over.
I can see that, but I don't know about 10 wins for the
I
playoffs.
think he's gonna be your season champion. He's gonna be the series champion, and he's gonna be the win leader for the year.
Okay.
I mean, again, he's in a JRM car. They're pretty much the best on the track.
Right with Gibbs.
Yeah, well, but I mean, who's Gibbs got? Okay, you got Brandon Jones. Who else?
Sorry. I accidentally laughed.
Right, exactly. Who's Gibbs going to put up out there that
The only thing Brandon Jones has ever done is won Darlington twice, and
AGR?
somehow.
Let's go look. Who's Gibbs? Gibbs is the only he ain't got to deal with Penske. He ain't got to deal with KBM, RCR. Okay, you got one guy you got to deal with. Big whoop. So let's see here. Let's go to the team drivers, teams, road crews. Let's see who's in their Xfinity rides. Hamlin, Briscoe, Ty Gibbs. Okay. William Sawalich. He's going to beat him hands down. Brandon Jones. Psh, Taylor Gray. Psh, no. He, Zillage is heads and shoulders above those three.
Yeah.
That they're in Gibbs cars. They don't have the talent
I
to
don't know what
Gibbs
Gibbs
cars.
is thinking on his Xfinity
Okay.
program this year.
Looking at these three guys, and I hate to,
He screwed up not bringing Hyman up. I mean, Hyman.
yeah, I don't know what he's
I
thinking.
accidentally call Crystal like that when he gets to listen to that part. He calls him Corey Hyman.
Corey Hyman. Like Brandon Jones, when you look at his career accomplishments under JGR's webpage, there's not one listed. There's not one listed for Taylor Gray. And for William Sawalich, he's ARCA Menards East champion for 23 and 24. And we know that ARCA doesn't mean squat. So, like, I don't know what JGR is thinking. The people you could be putting in your cars,
Is
Sheldon.
Eric is Eric Almirola driving any
I'm sure he'll be in the fourth car of
part
the
time?
20 at some point.
Okay.
Well, the 20 is Brandon Jones. The 18, so Almirola might be in the 19, I would guess, since
The
they've got
19th their floater this year.
yeah, the 15, the 18, and the 20 are the full times, or the
Is
54.
there no 54 at all?
No, sorry, yeah, the 18, the 20, and the 54. So, which I'm
Isn't there
surprised.
19 now?
Nope. So the 19 will be the floater. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't get rid of the 54 because that was Kyle Busch's number and car that they brought over from KBM. So that really is kind of a shocker, but
Hmm. He gets us.
he does. He's saving us. Xfinity. Let's see. Team charts here.
I I, I
I just
don't understand how a nonprofit sponsors a car so often.
you didn't know Jesus has unlimited piggy bank?
Oh, I know, but I just whenever you hear nonprofit and then they're sponsoring $1 million worth of race cars, I just don't understand how that works.
So here's your rookie of the year candidate options for 2025 in Xfinity. I don't know
A
who.
lot.
Right. Daniel Dye, Christian Eckes, Taylor Gray, Carson Quaffle, Nick Sanchez, Sawalich, Thompson, Zillich. Well, Zillich is going to be your rookie of the year. You can just start stenciling that trophy
I,
right.
I do think Waffle will give him a run for his money at some of the tracks.
I agree. I just think the rest of like the other than Quaffle, rest of them ain't got squat for him. So, all right. So, in terms of the rest of the guys that he's going to have to deal with, okay. So in-house, he'll have to deal with Carson Quaffle. Out of the field, depending on how Haas's Xfinity Series team goes. Sheldon Creed will be a
Well, you
threat.
forgot Allgaier.
I haven't got there yet. I'm
Well,
just
you
going
said
down.
in-house.
I'm just going down the list numerically. So Sheldon Creed
Okay.
will be a threat for wins this year. He's the king of second places. Carson Quaffle, he's in. JRM car. He's going to win some, I think. Jesse Love won't win.
Really?
I don't think so. It's more the RCR, not Jesse
You
Love
think he
himself.
was hyped? You
I,
think it was just hype?
no, I just think RCR's teams aren't as strong when you're comparing them to JRM and
Yeah.
the others. I just think they're a step behind them. Um, Parker Retzlaff, Alpha Prime. No, not going to hear anything from him all year. Chris Wright, won't hear anything from him. Nick Lights, SS Greenlight. Nope. Allgaier will be another one he's got to deal with. Sammy Smith, maybe. Daniel Dye, colleague. Nope. Colleague's program's kind of a wreck right now. Josh Williams, nope. Smithley, nope. Christian Eckes, colleague, nope. JGR, William Sawalich, don't care that's JGR. I just don't think they're going to be that good. The 19. Okay, so they're running the 19 under Briscoe's going to run select races in Xfinity in the 19. They've
Yeah.
got that listed. So hush. I don't want to hear it. Don't give me that mouth. Brandon Jones, not going to happen. Austin Hill, he's a legitimate threat. Harrison Burton's going to be in the AM Racing Ford. Unless he's getting help from Penske, that ain't going to do anything for him. I feel bad for Harrison, truthfully.
Yeah.
After winning Daytona, he's getting kind of screwed. Sam Hunt Racing, Dean Thompson, Jeb Burton, Kyle Sieg, like Blaine Perkins, uh, Sam Mayer. Again, that'll come down to how well uh, Haas factory team is. We know Sam can drive. Alfredo, Brennan Poole. Like, you see why I think he's going to win so many races. Like, who's going to beat him?
Yeah. I think the only time he'll get beat is when Cup regulars drop down.
Right?
Like
Like
I said, with the
of these
17 car.
guys, like who have we talked about so far that's going to beat Conor Zillich? I don't.
But we
That's
Christian
not a
Eckes was
part-time guy,
Christian
right?
Eckes was really good in trucks. Maybe he steps in a college car and does good.
Maybe, but again, I'm not discounting Christian Eckes. I'm discounting Colleague right now because their
Yeah,
program
I
has
know.
been so far off. If Colleague today was the Colleague of 2 or 3 years ago when Allmendinger won the regular season championship to get in advance and everything, and they were winning those races and everything, I think it's a different story. But I
Yeah.
don't. I just they're not.
They
They're not the
they
same. I
did
think
make it
they
to the final four last year with that car that he's gonna be in.
who Colleague? Yeah,
Eckes is in the same car. So
yeah.
it
Well,
it is
we'll
doable.
see. I would like to. I'm hoping it is it. Is it Colleague that got it? Yes, it is. Okay, so the one thing I will say that maybe will turn the corner for Colleague. We talked about it a while ago, and I almost forgot, but in prior episodes. But Colleague got from Trackhouse. What the hell's his damn name? Um, he was at June at DEI. Uh,
Oh, you're talking about I know you're talking about. Can't think of his name.
Ty Norris.
Norris.
Okay, so Colleague got Ty Norris. Ty Norris helped Justin build Trackhouse into a competitive force once he took it over from Chip Ganassi, rooted out the people who didn't want to believe in the vision or whatever, got the new people, and they're a contender now. They win races. They are competitive on a weekly basis, one way or another. I think if Colleague is going to be competitive, I think bringing over Ty Norris will be the difference. Help them get their ship righted. But I don't think
Yeah,
it's going to be a light switch. I think that's going to be, if anything, it won't be till about halfway through the season. You
and
know,
where will he be in the next 5 years from now?
right? Exactly.
Because
So,
that's what he's jumping around like so much. It's insane.
yep.
But yeah, you're right. It's that'll probably be the game changer. Is Ty Norris. He's
So
done
if
it
if
numerous
Colin Carr is
times.
going to be a threat, it's going to be because they brought over Ty Norris to help, unspaghetti soup their team because I mean they've been a mess. We
Yeah.
care about trophies, but then you had a chance to make the playoffs and you pull AJ Allmendinger halfway across the country to go focus on road race in Xfinity when you had a chance to qualify for the playoffs. So
Trophy hunting, baby.
that just tells me you don't have your eye on the bright prize. You
Yep.
literally like which one pays you more, this one race or the payout from qualifying in the top 16 for the Cup Series? Like you're an idiot.
Uh, that one race has way more importance to me
You're
to
sure.
fail at, apparently.
Look here, Matt Colleg, you shut up.
They failed tremendously
Yeah,
that weekend.
that was a blown opportunity twice. You didn't go out
Mhm.
there and win, and you didn't make the playoffs. So,
They were this close, and then after that weekend, they were this close.
yep, you were right here, and you took your eye off the ball, and then you
You
became
were within like a half a race of making the playoffs, and then you went to a full race
yep,
and essentially just took yourself out of it.
yep,
Stupid.
yep. So, but that's all I got. I just wanted to bring that up.
Uh, I don't know if there's any other topics to talk about either.
I don't have anything else.
With the Corey thing, real quick,
Hmm?
we didn't talk about how Danielle Trotta is a huge pickup for Prime.
Yeah, definitely.
She is very well spoken. She's very outspoken. She does not hesitate on track with Larry McReynolds to speak her mind. And
Yep. Call out when they're wrong.
I hope that Prime lets her do that as well because she does not have any trouble calling somebody out. When Larson did that shit with Indy last year, she was not for it at all.
Yep.
She let it rip. And as much as I like Larson, I thought it was awesome that she had that ability to just
Yep.
hammer it.
She's one of the few personalities within the NASCAR media, the known NASCAR media, not the podcasters, or the wannabes like us, or, you know, but that is genuinely credentialed on a week to week in the NASCAR media portfolio that is like Kyle Petty, that calls a spade, speaks her mind, and is truly doesn't care if you're her friend. When you're wrong, you're wrong. Like her opinions on the race manipulation, I thought were spot on.
Yep.
On the when she was talking about that with Larry Mack last year. I'm with you. I'm thinking that's going to be a really good get for them. I'm I'm excited more for anything in terms of race coverage this year, just for those two new introductions. And I want to see what it does to Fox and to NBC. If it makes them step up their game where they had kind of taken their eye off the ball and taken for granted what they had, if it forces them to reemphasize how they create their content.
Yep.
Because now you are talking about the number one streaming service on the planet in Amazon Prime.
And
And the guy that has more money.
she's gonna be the first face we see come Coke 600 weekend. Her and Corey LaJoie.
Yep.
When they come on, I mean, they are doing some practice shows and stuff throughout the beginning of the year. But when it comes to their day to host a race,
Yep.
he's gonna be the first face we see, and
Lay down.
I think it's gonna be great. So
Yeah, I think the Fox not taking things seriously with, the Michael Waltrip, Darrell Waltrip stuff, I think that got old. It's worn out a lot of people. And in turn Fox ratings have suffered. I know I don't spend a lot of time watching Fox because of the shenanigans until it's race time, because it's like they don't take it serious. And they've got some really good talent, which is why it upsets me, is because you have Larry McReynolds and you basically keep him in the basement. You know,
yeah,
he should be on.
when they took him out of the booth, the coverage suffered.
Yeah,
He did get eccentric sometimes, when he called a race, but nowhere near as our buddy at NBC that just left.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, whatever are you talking about? The Rick Allen?
the, you're not supposed to say his name.
Oh, is it like Beetlejuice? We don't, we don't say his name just once.
To the outside, and now
To the outside.
he's
But
he's got to have those tattooed on him somewhere.
I am so glad, as far as we've seen, he is not part of any NASCAR coverage this year.
Nope,
Thank you, Jesus.
none. I am hoping we get Lee Diffie back again, and
I think we are. I mean, if he's gone, then I
Lee
assume
Diffie
Lee
was
is going to be full
superb.
time.
I know you have a couple rednecks that are like, I don't like his accent. Who cares? Listen to what he's saying, not how he's saying it. Shut
He
up.
is a top-notch race play-by-play analyst with worlds of experience.
He is our best analyst right now,
Oh yeah.
hands down.
Yep.
When it comes to was it what do you call him? A lead color analyst.
Hmm.
He's the lead. So you have Mike Joy, then you have Adam Alexander with Prime and
Which he
TNT.
was on trucks before, so I think that's going to be an upgrade by bringing Adam Alexander up to the top level.
Yeah.
Adam Alexander
Or
is a good
was
color.
it wasn't it Xfinity?
He did.
Was it Xfinity, not trucks?
I thought he did trucks. Yeah, he did trucks with Michael Waltrip.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, but you got Adam Alexander now, and you got Lee Diffie, and I think Lee Diffie's the best out of the three.
I agree. I agree. I think the best you save the best for last. I think Adam Alexander in the middle is really good. Honestly, I think Fox has to go find somebody else. Nothing against Mike Joy. Mike Joy has a wealth of
He's
knowledge, but
he's been with us since the '70s, and he's been great. But he try. It seems like he tries too hard these days. He tries to make jokes and kind of gets off topic. And
well, to me, it's not even that. It's just that in the span of his life, he can't do this forever. So they better go find somebody to fill that spot that is just as charismatic and knowledgeable.
they they if they do eventually go get somebody, they need to go get Alan Bestwick.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say they need
Alan Bestwick's
Alan
still
Bestwick.
young.
He did a great
Come on,
job calling the
he's a
SRX races.
great SR. Yep, SRX. He was great, and it's like, please, somebody go get him, please.
Yep, go get
He's
Alan Bestwick.
he is amazing at what he does. He always was. He doesn't try to do what Rick Allen did. Oh, that I said it twice.
Go make him
It might
appear.
appear, but
You're
he
correct.
was great at what he does, and I don't see how he doesn't have a gig right now. It's crazy.
Well, I think doesn't he call basketball instead or something? I thought he did something for
I
ESPN.
think he does. I haven't actually heard him
But yeah,
on a
I
game.
agree. Him, like the late who just passed,
Bill Weber.
Bill Weber, like those voices were so good at painting the picture pre-race, post-race, during the race. Like you need those voices back. And we've lost something with that with the chase after we want the drivers. There's nothing wrong with having the drivers and the former crew chiefs in the booth, but you need those knowledgeable anchors. And just like DW's time is come and gone, pretty much, in my opinion, I think yours that, uh, you know, I can't think of his name because I'm trying to wish him out of existence, but uh, uh, damn it, Mike Joy.
Joy.
Yeah, Mike Joy. I think his time is over. It's time for then, but I don't know who you're going to replace him with. I don't know who I would go get to replace him. Is the thing.
The only person I can think of is Bestwick. Honestly, that
Right, right.
there is nobody in
If
the
I couldn't
lower
get Bestwick,
series.
I don't know who else I would go get. Is all I'm saying.
There is nobody else in the lower series that you'd want. Like Jamie Little. As much as I love her as a pit reporter, she's a terrible
Yep.
play-by-play analysis. I don't know what they saw in her when you try out. They put it the way they try out is they put a race on and they say call it. Like you know, it's I had so much hope for her, and when she calls races, I just oh my gosh,
It's like nails on a chalkboard for me.
oh.
For her, like it's not.
It's like she's grasping at straws and don't know what she needs to say next. And I don't want to badmouth people on our podcast, but it's just what
Well, it's just some people everybody has different strengths. So people could think we suck as, podcast people. That's fair. But, like everybody just has different strengths. Like, Dave Moody is a fantastic play-by-play corner analyst on race weekend. He is a dick on radio most of the time. But he has a show and people call in and people follow. But, I think he's obnoxious because he cuts you off. And I call in and I make my piece, but he doesn't really ever let you say what you want to say.
no
So his strength, just like some of the other folks, that are, that do the painting a picture on the radio is different than painting a picture on TV. And it's definitely different than, 10 or 15 seconds on pit road when they ask you, okay, what's going on? Okay, here's, you know, they've had this, the tires are wearing, here's the strategy. We'll see what they do when they come in and back to you. All right, you paint this really quick picture is not the same thing as for 2 hours, I have to talk to you about all the things that are going on. I just,
Yeah,
for whatever reason, just it's not in her wheelhouse right now. Maybe she'll get better at it. Maybe she won't. We'll find
yeah.
out. But
She's got a decent. I think she got another year on her contract, if I remember right. So, you know, maybe they've worked with her in off season. Maybe it's gotten better.
I agree. I think that I, she, it is disappointing because I liked her as a pit reporter. Just like when they got rid of Wendy Venturini. I liked Wendy Venturini. I thought she was a great pit reporter and content, component, and she's not in there anymore.
I'll say one for Chris. I know he would say it if he was here. He misses the hell out of Ralph Shaheen.
Okay.
He talks about him all the time when we get on this topic. Uh,
Yeah.
Ralph Shaheen was
Yep.
a big deal with Chris, so
He
that's
was good.
another one.
I know. I like Ralph as well.
Yeah. So I don't know what he's doing these days. I know he's doing something, but it's not NASCAR.
Yep. I think in their quest to update their audience, NASCAR got rid of a lot of really good people. They kept some, but overall they got rid of a lot of really good people, and you're probably not getting them back,
Yeah.
which is a shame because you lost a lot of really good talent that was beloved by the fans. So,
Yep. Well, that's all I got, brother.
same man. All right, we'll cut
Good
this.
show.
And, yep, give us
Thanks everybody for
about an
listening.
hour and half, something like that. Feels longer
It
than that,
was an hour and 50 minutes.
so not too bad. But
Or actually, it might be right at 2 hours.
yeah, we're right at it, close to it because we waited for
Yep.
Chris. So
Yep.
there he is with my package. Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'll cut this and we will get it uploaded soon. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.
See what happens with the Clash this weekend. Hopefully
We'll
we get a
see.
good
We'll
race.
record it Sunday night, maybe.
Yep. If everybody's available, we'll knock it out. All right. Talk to you later. And we're out.